Good evening. I'd like to thank all of you who stayed here. This is Taħdita Teatru, which is part of the program for Spazju Kreattiv. And we'll have a chance, you two will have the chance to discuss and find out more about how this worked, the process, and the objectives for this performance. And I will start by asking one of our protagonists, Angela. Sorry, we have Angela Bettoni, who you've just been watching. We have, she was one of the actors. We have Ilona Baldacchino, who is the artistic director for Opening Doors. And we have Tonya Todd, who directed the performance. Angela, so I must say, I must really congratulate you for your powerful performance and the energy you bring to the stage. And I really admired also the way you all worked together. And my first question to you is, how did it feel this time round to have other actors working with you from outside Opening Doors?
Personally, I think that it was amazing because it's like it's the first time I was in a performance with mixed abilities, that it was inclusive. And personally, I loved how the guest actors integrated with the other actors from Opening Doors, and I would love to see more of these inclusive performances happening more.
Okay, and about your performance, I thought it came through very, very powerful. Were those your wishes that you were putting through?
Half of them, yes. And one scene was from my personal experience as well.
It was from?
Personal experiences.
Mm-hmm. Personal experiences, shared experiences with the others in the group?
Not really. Like for the interview scene, that does happen sometimes when people talk down to you, but in a good way. But the feeling is like, no, I want to be seen as an adult.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And you feel theatre gave you the chance maybe to express yourself in a stronger way, or do you think, for example, dance would help you express yourself? You had a mix of the arts in the performance. Mm-hmm. Did you choose to be doing the speaking, or did some of the actors opt for the dancing?
That I really don't know, actually.
Okay, we'll ask the director about that
then.
Yes. What do you feel is the strongest message you wanted to pass on?
Well, I would say to do more performances like this, like inclusive performances, because I think that it's a very powerful way to reach out to different people, especially if you bring like little children to see the performance. But I feel that it will teach them to grow up in a society where they see each other as all equals.
Mm-hmm. So you get more understanding. Yeah. I definitely learned a lot watching this performance. Thank you very much. Ilona, you were observing the process, I understand, of how this worked. How do you feel about it? Do you feel it's given you anything? Is it done very differently from you normally choreograph, right?
Well, my background is coming in dance. I've been part of Opening Doors. I started off as a volunteer, and when Sandra was still leading, she's here, our PP's artistic director, and then I've taken this position. Well, the process was very much, Tony involved me in the creative process, and I was attending. Well, we've discussed the ideas. We usually work very similarly in a way how we would do in Opening Doors. We do not really set a team. We discuss with the performers and see what their interests are, what teams they'd like to discover, and then we somehow put a puzzle together. And this was very similar. The process was very similar to what we usually do. Yeah, so I think this year we've also, Opening Doors has kind of delved into various topics that are personal experiences, and you know, the performers are telling their stories, and this was kind of another possibility to do so and share those experiences together.
Mm-hmm. Was this the first time that other actors were included?
Well, with regards to Opening Doors, yes, we used to have guest performers, but not working with the cast of Opening Doors, from what I recall. We haven't done that in a while. But this is our vision. Well, this is our vision. I mean,
this is the way to go.
Yeah, we would love to have inclusive performances and also prepare our performers to work in such pre-professional, professional local platforms, artistic local platforms. So that is what we're aiming for. And this was a start. We have another upcoming project coming up soon, which will be also an inclusive work in collaboration with another choreographer. Yeah, so this is the way forward.
Thank you very much. Tony, okay, what would you like to say that maybe hasn't been covered? What were the challenges maybe you had, or?
First of all, this project did not start or wasn't meant to be like this at all, and this is the beauty of this work. It was supposed to be initially a script with 6 actors, 3 from Opening Doors and 3 from somewhere else.
What do you mean, a set script? Somebody would have written it
still devised and co-created with the actors involved. So we started with our workshops in January on Zoom with all members from Opening Doors. And that's where we started to discover the different themes that emerged. And of course, I know Opening Doors because, of course, I'm a board member and a founding member. So in a way, I've been through the journey of the organization.
Did you know all the actors before you started?
Not all. But so then we met, so we invited the group to participate in a month, like weekly workshops, to really delve into the themes.
In person? In
person, yeah, that's right. Yay! No. I wish to say that theatre can happen online, but it can't. Well, parts of it can. So we stepped into the workshop space, and there were 10 artists, because they were from 3 different groups. So that's from the music group,
different areas.
From dance, from theatre, from drama. So we started working, and then when Simone and I asked, okay, so who would like to be in the show? Everyone just said, me. So then I looked at Simone and said, you know what? That play we were thinking about, scrap that, start afresh. We're going to take all this material and start creating again. We still have a script. There's still a script. There's still a structure to it. There's still a great deal of improvisation. There were things which I haven't seen that happened today.
Really?
Things which we explored in the first workshops which re-emerged today in the show, which is actually beautiful. And I think for me, whereas as a director, I always try to, in the process, to me, any creative person is equal in the process, from the lights designer to the backstage crew. Hello, Annalisa. I think that's the beauty of theatre in a way, that everyone can bring in their ideas. And this was the same. So bits of the music we heard, or the wishes we have written here, or even the stories. And that's a huge challenge itself, because when an actor exposes their own story on stage, you know, we have stories about love, we have stories about employment,
it's really felt
about
very
unemployment.
Fact,
those were all personal stories, and still are. So that's very challenging for any actor. And also, I think the second learning thing to me was, who am I as a director to say that in my worldview, this is the aesthetic that I want? Because there are different aesthetics that exist in the world. And I had to embrace that. There were more, of course, I had to take decisions. At some point, you choose whether it's this or that, whether I like this. You know, of course, you have to do some of that as well. So it's like, you know, mayhem. Choose whatever light you want. So, you know, but the way we get there, and again, there were moments where and the same thing happens with any actor. If I'm working with a group of dancers and I give them text, they freak out. I've worked with the National Dance Company. The first time I introduced text, they freaked out because that ability is not carried with that craft. So it's useless forcing someone to speak if there isn't.
So essentially, you found
so
out what
you
the strengths
use
were.
exactly the elements. If someone has, and again, why would I try to force someone to say something? I actually don't force someone's disability, for example, or someone's. I mean, try to get me to dance, and I would look just silly on stage, unless that's what you want me to do. And I think this is something I really want to encourage other directors, other programmers, festival directors to understand that the normative aesthetic, perhaps if that term exists, I don't know, is maybe no longer valid. We think that this is what theater is, this is what dance is. Yes, there is technique, and yes, there are principles that we need to explain. There's discipline. To me, that's the most important thing. But other than that, I mean, probably I've learned much more than anyone else.
I was going to just ask you, besides all this, you've said, what is the most important thing you feel you'll be taking away with you from this experience?
Lots of laughter and amazing new friends. But I think about what a different, to me, it's like, to me, it's an artistic experience like any other in terms of, because there's also this perception that, again, with all due respect to the parents here, and I know this comes from love, these are not kids, they're adults.
They were saying that throughout.
And they were saying
Yes.
that, and I know this is out of pure love, but I keep on referring to them as artists, because there is a creative expression there. Irrespective of how small or how big it is, there was still something in there that came directly from there.
In fact, I think the individuals, all the artists in the group, brought in something special that nobody else could have done, in the way they did it. And that's what made it so emotional, so tender, so authentic. It was really an authentic piece of work. I really, really enjoyed every minute of it. But maybe we could ask the audience if they have any questions about this. It's interesting, this process of co-creation, where the ideas come from the artists themselves. And then obviously there are other artists, like the director and the scriptwriter, who put it all together. In a marvelous way, they managed to blend in everything into one storyline. So maybe you have some questions about that, how it works. It's quite a unique process. Justin, you have a question.
No, the way it was, how we work. The way how they work in the rehearsal with we were like a family.
Oh, that's lovely.
And I appreciate it a lot. We learned a lot the different idea of each person. Everybody have their own ideas. In the theater, you have to give it in all, not just a person that the meanings is there.
Mm-hmm. And so you feel you got to know the other people, in the other artists, much better thanks to this process,
Yes.
because of the ideas they were coming up with and their
Yes,
wishes.
Thanks to open doors, and for me it means a lot, because we don't have this opportunity to take part in it.
It gave you a lot of opportunities, this opening
Yes,
doors.
for me, and since I know everyone from the group. Now, the person growing is more adult.
Good. So it was a very positive change for you. Thank you very much, Justin. Anyone else wants to comment or has a question?
Yes.
Aha.
I was wondering how you work, Tony and Angela perhaps could answer this. Did you work in separate groups and then eventually everything came together? And if that's how you worked, what happened when everything came together? How did you weave the stories through?
So whilst Angela was touring Europe, we were in Malta working. Yeah?
Yeah.
No, so I'll go first. Just before you, whilst you were traveling, and then you can. So when we took some material from the workshops, so the stories, the wishes, Simone got an idea, even from the protesting scene started with Caroline's improvisation about the news, saying that actually she hates war and she doesn't like the news because of all the ugly stuff that's happening. And that kind of led to other stuff. Justin's scene emerged from conversations we had about employment, about dignity through work and workers' dignity. And like Angela also shared her own experiences, even the chair experience, like from Austria. So then we got all these elements, and there was a script, but what Simone wanted was she created blanks in the script. So if we had lines, if we're talking about why do you want to have a boyfriend, those were blanks. And that is where we created and discussed ideas, and then the actors, created their own words, and some changed because, it would be, for example, from a theatrical point of view, maybe too long or too short. And we edited that, and then what we did is we rehearsed them as scenes, as you saw them there. And we had the first scene and the final scene where everyone came together, and the protest scene, which every rehearsal was like mayhem and a massive headache after each and every rehearsal. Usually it's much louder than this, especially in a small room.
And personally, when Simone asked us, I sent the email out about for us to contribute to the script, I actually jumped to the idea. Because next to acting, I love to write as well. And for opening doors, I am writing a blog series for them.
Oh.
And based on the question which is sent each one of us, I actually jumped to it. And some of the things which I wrote were based on my experiences of like being talked down, for example. Because unfortunately, it still happens. And I was really happy that my writing was also incorporated as well, some way or another.
So you have a very strong sense of ownership in the work.
No. No, I don't.
It's yours. I mean, the monologue, your monologue is she wrote that.
Totally hers.
So that's her writing.
Yes.
I was curious about the fact that you said that it kept on changing. There were certain things you saw today. And what sort of things? Because I'm thinking that might throw the other actors off.
No, I think that.
Or they do.
No, in terms of the dance sequences, or also adapting to the space. For example, like Benjamin introduced voice today for the first time in the sequence, which was absolutely amazing because in the first rehearsals, I encouraged him, I invited him to do that. He didn't seem to like the idea. So then we went for movement. But, 6 weeks later, let's throw voice in there as well. Why not? And that was great. It was absolutely beautiful and magical. And again, it's to me, it's this element of surprise, which any performer goes through now, and that's what makes every show unique. And clearly, this is why I keep on insisting that they're artists and performers, because these are the elements that make a performer. So you know, nobody is
Exactly.
mechanical on stage, nobody is moving in a way. Okay, maybe because of the light, you know, you have to be in some space, but that's part of the discipline in a way.
But clearly they were so well rehearsed that that could happen because it
Yeah,
could
yeah.
throw you
Yeah.
off. And there's this group feeling. The cohesion is very strong. The chemistry between them, it was very clear.
And of course, for a lot of them, I think it was also the first time they worked together, no? Because
Really?
they came from different groups.
And meeting after a year and a half being online, because they're usually working in 3 separate groups, as in we have 6 groups in 3 different genres. So it was a year and a half of everyone meeting online, and this was a lovely, I think we got to know, and even I got to know, you know, all of them in such a unique and different light. And yeah, and it was lovely to see different people from different disciplines working together. Like we had Mark, Carl, Sarah coming from the music, and they were acting. Yeah, we had, you know, we had a mix of performers working in different ways, which was lovely to see, because,
That
you know,
was very
other
enriching,
emerging
I think.
skills
Yes,
were kind
yes.
of flourishing as
I
well.
got the feeling there was a question coming from behind me. Yeah? No?
Oh, there's one here.
Oh, there you are. Sorry.
Just because we've heard a lot about the opening doors actors, but we haven't heard about the guest actors, and I think it was brilliant, the kind of rapport that they all had. Tony, what were the kind of criteria? I mean, I know Jacob, of course, is one of the tutors, but how did you pick these particular guest actors?
It's a very good question, and thanks for bringing this up, because I think they did a fantastic job.
They did.
I think I always work with actors who give a lot to the process. So even if I'm working with a kind of very traditional, here's a script, this is what, to me that's very important. So at no point, kind of, if actors walk into the studio thinking they're waiting for direction, then it's not going to work. So for me, it was important, first of all, even Kurt has experience in working with people with disability. So he actually was a great asset to even understand at times, you know, there were specific issues in terms of even text, use of text, which I wouldn't know, you know. It's like I would encourage change of, in terms of intonation, for example. And Sharon, on the other hand, is such a beautiful person inside and out that you know, that openness, and also had experience in physical work, and of course Jacob, who has already worked with opening doors, knows, and also the synergy. So for example, Jacob had already worked with Peter, so you see even that dynamic there in that space. But to me, the important element was I didn't want to, and neither did they want this, to create a kind of a distinctive element where this is us and this is them, and we're here to support you. In fact, even the piece kind of turned around, even when Angela gives the letter, the paper for Kurt to write the dream, the wish, when all the wishes kind of, and even the audience pass on their wishes to the ensemble. So the ensemble is the one leading the process. And to me, that's the most important element, that it's an ensemble piece, and there were moments where, you know, they participated and engaged in a way that, of course, they had a monologue, and the moments where they were shouting in a protest scene.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for that. It was very important, because we didn't have one of them on the panel. Yes.
The dansöser applåd danser många belä Julian ukoll.
Għax u bil-għużer Julian ukoll. Li waħda mill-għallima. One of the t-shirts.
Yeah, Peter just saying, maybe I can continue follow up on what you're saying, Peter, that we also have ballet. And next Monday we start our lessons in person, yay! So I have ballet on Monday and then a lesson with Julianne. or dance movement session.
And you clearly are really looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. Are there any further questions? Is there anything else you'd like to add, maybe?
Your final word?
Yes, you go.
I don't know where to start from.
Where to start?
Start again! Would you do this over and over again, like this?
I mean, it depends kind of on the audience has any questions.
I don't think I have any more questions. There is a question back there.
There is a...
Not a question, actually, a statement. As a parent, I think I've been to many, obviously I support Carl in all his performances. I think today's performance was amazing because they listened to what they wanted. They really listened. Tony, I really thank you because like 2 days ago, Carl told me, I'm going to ask Tony to introduce. I said, forget it. It's 2 days before. Forget it. You can't do it. And he did it. So I really brushed him off. And Tony gave him the opportunity. So I really thank you for listening to me.
Well, I had to go on stage there because of that. So I ended up, because of him, I ended up...
And you hated that, right?
Because otherwise we'd have ended up with a recording of this. But yes, I mean, his role was assistant stage manager to Annalisa, so there was a task there. You know, the moment where he would have come in a scene or whatever, that would not have been a role of an assistant stage manager. But in this case, you know.
And what an introduction, well done.
And a great introduction there.
And with that, we'll end this Taħdita Teatru. Thank you very much.
Thank you.